I now yield to the distinguished gentleman from Ohio, the ranking member of our full committee, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank our witnesses as well for being here. Normally, when you start a new Congress, the majority gives the designation of H.R. 1 to its key priority. In the last Congress, H.R. 1 was the most significant tax reform, tax cut package in a generation, returned millions of dollars to Americans, simplified our tax code, and was one of the key reasons I think we've seen 5 million new jobs added to our economy in the last couple of years. That bill, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, was bold, realistic, and it was signed into law just over a year ago. I think it's also helped create the lowest unemployment in 50 years, an economy that is moving in exactly the direction we want. This Congress, the Democrats' H.R. 1 is the so-called For the People Act. A more accurate title would be For the People Who Want Democrats to Win Elections from now on. The bill includes a laundry list of tired proposals designed to benefit the majority by tilting the playing field in their favor. It's not a stretch to label many of these proposals radical. You can laugh, but it's true. H.R. 1 would steer potentially billions of dollars to political allies in the name of campaign finance empowerment, restrict Americans' right to free speech, and exact political retribution on the President of the United States. Unfortunately, this isn't all that surprising. This is just the latest in a series of attacks by the Democrats to stifle the free exchange of ideas. 2013, we learned that the IRS targeted conservatives for their political beliefs during the 2012 election cycle. Systematically, for a sustained period of time, they went after people for their conservative beliefs. Plan in place, targeted people, they did it. The gross abuse of power would have continued if not for the efforts of this committee. 2014, the Obama administration doubled down and attempted to use the IRS rulemaking process to gut the ability of social welfare organizations to participate in public debate. Congress has so far prevented this regulation from going into effect, but H.R. 1 would change that. Furthermore, this bill would roll back another critical victory for privacy and free speech secured just last summer. Following efforts by this committee and others, the IRS changed its policy as it relates to Schedule B information. Schedule B contains personal information like names, addresses, and the amounts donated to nonprofit entities. Even though this information is supposed to remain private, under current law, states and federal government have leaked these personal details in the past. In changing its policy, the IRS noted that there had been at least 14 breaches resulting in the unauthorized disclosure of Schedule B information just since 2010. The result was everyday Americans receiving death threats and mail containing white powder, all because someone disagreed with what they believe and who they gave their hard-earned money to. The reason that the protection of Schedule B information is important has nothing to do with the vast conspiracies on the right or the left, the so-called dark money issue. Rather, it dates back to the Supreme Court's 1958 decision, critical decision, the NAACP versus Alabama, which formally recognized the freedom of association and prevented the NAACP from being compelled to turn over information about its members. Look, I haven't even got to all the other problems with this bill. I mean, this bill, mandatory early vote, talk about violations of the 10th Amendment in our federal systems, mandatory early voting, mandatory voting by mail, felons can vote. How about public financing of campaigns? The taxpayers have to pay for the politicians' campaigns. Think about this. Taxpayers have to pay for the same politicians who created the swamp, who were in the swamp, so that they can get reelected. I mean, this is what this legislation does. There's much that can be done to improve the functioning of transparency and effectiveness of the federal government. However, this 571-page bill reads more like a wish list for the Democratic Party than an honest attempt at reform. I fear that this legislation is a sign our friends in the majority want to play games, engage in political theater to start this Congress, rather than use this time to work constructively to find solutions for hardworking Americans that sent us here. Mr. Chairman, I would like to yield, I think we have a few more minutes left. I want to